Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Nola Experience podcast. I am here with Mr. Mele, and we're going to have a super dope conversation today with my girl Shan, who's going to be joining us pretty soon. In the meantime, what's going on with you, Mele?
Chilling, just working, tired. I was working all day yesterday. I was on a movie set, editing audio. Recording audio. So that was cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, because usually you're like chilling like a villain. You know how I'm feeling. You can definitely hear the difference today.
Yeah, just a little. I'm definitely chilling. All right.
For
Chill
once.
all the way to ZZZ.
All right. It's all good. Um,
Yeah, we here.
we're doing Black Girl Talk today.
Black
And
girl.
Black Girl,
Oh, why am I here then?
you're not supposed to be.
I'm not supposed to be in this episode. I didn't get the memo.
Stick
Or
around
did I get
and
the memo?
jump in. Just listen to the perspectives and throw your questions in there. See what sparks in your mind and enjoy.
Will do. Will do. Am I able to chime in if I hear some non foolery, some foolery?
Why would you only want to chime in for foolery?
Because I'm here for the foolery, baby.
Oh, okay.
I'm just joking. Because I know y'all, once y'all girls get together, y'all start, getting all chatty and, oh, guys, and the man. Oh, yeah, girl, he did that.
Is there a
I'm
reason why you didn't have that concern for a black guy code?
I'm just being petty.
Oh, yeah, yeah, you're just tired. You get a pass.
I'm just tired of being
You
petty
get a
today.
pass. So
That's
we're
all
just
it is.
waiting on Shan to jump in.
What do you
And
hope to achieve with this conversation today?
um, I like celebrating conversations, period. But it's even more exciting when it's other women. I
Mm,
think there's a myth that women are catty and women just like to fight with each other and get petty and stuff like that. I don't have anything like that going on in my friendships. And I also feel like it's, you know, it goes across genders. You know what I mean? It's not just like a woman on woman thing, man on man thing, or whatever. We all have issues with each other. And I just want to take a moment to kind of quell that, you know what I mean? Kind of squash that myth
mm-hmm,
because it's a complete myth. Women are not, in general, very catty.
mm-hmm,
So, not only do I want to kill that, but of course, I want to, shine light on dope people in the community, and Shan is definitely one of them. She was a makeup artist at one point. She does hair. She cooks, just like a Jackie of all trades type of person. So I'm super excited to have a conversation with her um, and just pick her brain about some of her interactions with other
mm-hmm.
women and see what we get from that.
And out of all of the dope women why'd you pick this young lady for today?
Because Shan is super fun. We met at an event that a mutual friend was having. Shout out to Felicia of Laces Inc. She produces a bunch of super dope events throughout the year. And the event I think Shan and I met at, I might be wrong. I think it's a photo shoot. Um, March is Women's Month, and I think there was a Women's Month photo shoot. No, I'm lying. We met on a panel. We met on a Battle of the Sexes panel. And I just thought her perspectives were super dope. I thought she was super cool. And then we kept seeing each other around, and here we are.
Mm.
So I think she's going to be a fun guest. And I'm curious to hear her responses. I'm definitely going to pick her brain. I can tell you a little bit of um, my experiences with women. I think this is a common thing that a lot of women have, where and I think this is where some of the myths start. And I'm gonna delve a little bit into my issues um, in the world of interacting with other women. So I've definitely, in my 20s, I've had dozens upon dozens upon dozens of situations where I just felt like, oh, when I walk into a room, women don't like me. And I have definitely been one of those women to say, or girls to say, um, you know, I get along with men better. I don't get along with women. I had a phase where I went through that. And I think growing up and maturing and understanding yourself better and coming into a space where you start taking accountability for your own energy and your own actions, and just the way you affect energy in certain spaces, because that's something that we
Mm.
do. You know, it's so important to understand how you affect energy in a room.
Yeah.
um I think a lot of times women don't consider how they behave,
Yep.
how they speak, their facial expressions. I know my facial, I was born with RBF. Um, and if you don't know what that means, look it up.
Look it
I'm not about
up.
to tell you.
Yep.
But I've always had that face, and definitely probably a vibe that seemed superior. Um and when you have a vibe that seems superior, and then you probably have self-esteem issues, which was definitely my thing in my 20s, that's such a toxic combo. It's such a toxic combination, because you definitely fool yourself into thinking it's them, it's not me. I'm just being myself. I'm stepping into this room and y'all want to hate, you know. And really, like I said before, growing into a space where I had to take accountability for my role in it, it made me look back like, damn, a lot of women do this. If you
Mm.
ever hear women say, I don't get along with other women, I get along with men only, honey, it's not the other women you don't get along with. You don't get along with yourself.
Ooh.
You don't get along with yourself. And
I know that's a
that's a
tough pill to
relationship.
swallow right there.
Yeah, it is. It's a relationship that you have to explore, and you have to be completely honest about the different things that are going on with you, because sometimes it's not just one thing. You know, it's not that you have an attitude, or you don't know how to socialize, or you have poor communication skills, whatever the case is.
Mm.
It could be multiple things compounded in one that's really causing you to have static with people. And that was definitely my thing. My thing was having a lot of freaking static with a lot of different women. And I will tell you today, it wasn't those women. I mean, if I'm going to be completely honest, you know, I've definitely encountered a lot of shitty people, but I'm the only person who can control what I get out of these relationships. And I did get a lot of
Mm.
static, and I know that I came with the static
Mm.
because, believe it or not, I am socially awkward. It sounds weird.
Really?
I am, but it's in my head. Um,
Hmm.
mhm,
Explain.
mhm,
Because socially awkward in your head,
mhm.
it's kind of like a
The
double
awkwardness
negative.
is happening in my head, but I know how to maneuver and not
Mm.
show that. And sometimes
Ah.
you might have people in a room with an attitude, let's say women, because we're talking about women, right? You might have women in a room with an attitude, or maybe I should just talk about myself. So, me coming from Guyana at 10 years old, I think one of the first experiences that I had was just so profound. When I first went to school, there was this guy named Aaron. Um,
Never trust a dude named Aaron.
really? You
You
should
know
have
where the
told me back
story's going
then.
already.
So we're in the lunchroom, and Aaron approached me pretty much. I guess it was flirting, but it was super inappropriate, and it was just rude. Just the way he came across, it was just too much.
You're 10 years old, 11
I'm
years old.
I'm 10.
Whoa. Okay.
And yeah, and my reaction to that was to stab him. True story. But I stabbed him with a plastic spork. Is that what it's called? A spork?
Wow. Yeah. Spoon and a fork.
I stabbed
Wow.
him with that in the nuts.
How that?
I mean, he had jeans on, but I guess in my head I thought something was going to happen
So how is your aim that good?
because I was sitting at a table and he came and stood next to me,
Mm,
and his genitals were kind of like eye
eye
level.
level. So you
Yeah.
just, yeah.
Yeah, I stabbed him. And this is coming again, and I'm pretty much
Whoa.
kind of defending women with attitudes in a way, because
Uh-huh.
I was definitely one of them, and I understand now. I didn't understand then. I understand now why I behaved that way. So I'm coming from another country. I'm in a foreign land. I'm already uncomfortable. I'm already being made fun of because I have this accent, which I love now, by the way. And I try to make sure
Obviously, it was
people,
way stronger than it is now.
it wasn't even an accent, it was the full dialect, you know.
Whoa.
Yeah. And we definitely had communication gaps because I didn't understand some things people were saying. They didn't understand me. It was
Mm.
messy, but I understood, you standing with your genitals at eye level while I'm sitting down.
Saying
Um,
something you don't want to hear.
right. And again, this is, 3 years before that, back in Guyana, I was molested.
Ooh.
So I was already triggered. I already
Yeah.
had that trigger happening. So as soon as he did that, it's like, okay, you're getting stabbed because now you're
Mm.
disrespecting me. So my first act of aggression in America was
Stabbing some kid in the nuts with a spork.
but maybe we can't really consider it stabbing because he had jeans on.
That doesn't change it. That is not what changes it.
Well, what I should say is he wasn't stabbed. I stabbed him, but he wasn't stabbed because it was jeans. Like the spork
So
just went to his pants and nothing happened.
so what? That's still the stab. The stab comes from the action of you doing
Right,
this.
but he wasn't stabbed. So what I mean is
He
his skin
wasn't.
wasn't punctured. That's
Oh,
what I
he
should
wasn't
say. He
punctured.
wasn't
Yes.
injured. He wasn't hurt. But I think the gesture was enough.
He was hurt.
Um,
You clipped them nuts, no matter how.
well, that got escalated to the principal's office, and I ended
Oh,
up getting a pass.
okay.
Yeah, I ended up getting a pass, and I think the principal was already familiar with people kind of picking on me because I was new. And it's so
Hmm.
crazy. Let me tell you something crazy. Up until this moment, I didn't even think about the whole getting picked on part. You know how people always say, I was picked on in school? I didn't even remember that
Yeah.
shit happened. I forgot all
Wow.
about that. But I'm just giving you a little bit of background to show you how that attitude and that aggression even came to be. So
Mm.
now I'm growing up in Brooklyn, New York. First of all, when I got here, it was winter. I'm coming from a tropical country. We're living in the hood. I
Thanks.
did not expect to be in the hood because when I saw America on TV, it wasn't
It's a
it
story
wasn't
yours. Yeah.
Brooklyn. It was not Church Avenue and Church Avenue and New York Avenue and
Uh-huh.
Flatbush. It wasn't that. I didn't know I was going to be living right above a bus stop. It was so noisy. It was crazy. I was
You're
like,
thinking New York, you're like Times Square, big lights, people all over.
exactly. No, it was
Psych.
Brooklyn. Brooklyn
Brooklyn.
Zoo.
Brooklyn Zoo.
Yeah. So,
Zoo. Especially at that time. I'm pretty sure it was
y- yo,
wild.
1992, I think that was, or 93, something like that. But there were just so many elements and so many circumstances that really contributed to my vibe, and just this consistent anger. I was just angry all the time.
Mm,
And I think slowly but surely, my story is going to be time released and people are going to understand. I guess the people I've had static with, they're probably going to understand, well, damn, that's why she was like that.
mm,
But growing up into high school, junior high school, early 20s, that was definitely the vibe. Aggressive, spicy, feisty attitude,
mm.
always on edge, ready for whatever, whenever. And nobody could tell me anything. Doesn't matter who it was. If you rubbed me the wrong way or you said something to me that I did not like, I had a great comeback, and I did not play fair. If you came at me with something really tiny, I'm coming back like a hammer on an ant type of vibe.
Whoa.
Yeah, that was definitely me. And then, of course, I had to walk into rooms with other women at some point, right? And other girls. And the clash is going to happen because I had that vibe. I was carrying that vibe. But I think this thing we do, especially when we're not taught how to be accountable, um, we always blame other people, right?
Mm-hmm.
We always feel like it's them, it's not me. So that's
Mm-hmm.
basically how I was walking around. I was blaming everybody else but myself, and pretty much saying, this is me. If you can't accept it, um, you're just tough luck.
Where do you think you developed that type of attitude from? Do you think that uh because like you said, there are a lot, especially black women, who have been like labeled as like aggressive or passion, aggressive or angry, and they have that type of attitude with like "don't fuck with me" attitude.
Yeah.
Where do you think that stems from? In your experience, in your opinion.
Well, definitely circumstances growing up,
Hmm.
being in the midst of a lot of things that I felt were just painful for a little girl,
Mm,
and developing anger towards those circumstances, and developing anger towards the people who were supposed to protect me.
mm,
And then on top of it, I'm coming from women who were also dealing with and
mm.
unprocessed trauma that weren't resolved.
Yep.
So those women were feisty too. Those women had attitudes too. You
Hmm.
can't really mess with the women in my family like that.
Mm.
You can't
Oh, I seen
listen.
your mom on the news the other day, so I know. I was like, okay, Miss Rowe,
Well,
Mrs. Rowe.
You know what? When you say it like that with no context, it's gonna make it seem like, what did her mom do? Was she in
I know.
handcuffs?
Well, go look that up too, man.
Yeah, go
It's
look
not
up
what you
the
think, or maybe it is
um
what you think, but
the story about the Hills restaurant
mm,
in Brooklyn. But yeah, coming from that background and then having those women around, it
mhm,
that's what I was learning. Listen, one time I had an issue at a hair salon in Brooklyn on East 95th Street near Rutland Road. Got my hair braided. I don't remember what the problem was. There was some type of problem. Um, I don't know if I didn't like my hair or I don't remember, but whoever was nearby, for whatever reason, I don't remember if the person was with me or if it was just someone nearby. They went to my house and told my mom. So As I'm walking out of the hair salon,
Mhm.
I see my mom, my aunt, and a third person, I don't remember who, coming towards the salon. And I already knew what that meant. They were coming to the salon lady. And I'm
Mm.
like, I don't remember how I felt about it. I think I might have felt satisfaction, like, oh yeah, you're about to see, or something. I
Mhm.
don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it was. But that was the type of vibe. If something happened, you called your people and they pull up, because there's also that ego within the culture, whereas you don't allow people to walk all over you. You don't allow
Mhm.
people to act funny towards you.
Mhm.
And if they do, there's going to be some type of consequence.
Uh-huh.
And yeah.
And you didn't finish this story. So what happened when they got to the salon?
Oh, well, my mom asked me, who did your hair? And I
That
told
lady.
her, yeah, I pointed out the lady. Yo, just why, man? That was just so unnecessary. Thinking back on it, all of that drama, people could have gotten hurt. But yeah, I did, and there was an exchange of words, and I don't remember what the resolution was. I don't even remember the problem. I just remember like a lot of things popping up and me not wanting my mom to know, because I already know she's going to
What?
exaggerate and overreact. um and that's the vibe that I came from. That's the background. But my mom is not like, let me not paint my mom like she's some type of road warrior crazy
Mhm.
woman. She's super sweet, super dope, super generous,
Mhm.
very well loved in the community, loved, loved, loved. But
Mhm.
don't get her mad.
Mm. What's your mom's sign?
She's an I almost don't want to tell you. She's an
Leo.
Aries.
I knew it. When you said that, I was like, that sounds like me.
She's an Aries. She's her birthday is March 23rd, and
It was. I knew it was a fire sign. I didn't think it was gonna be what
yeah, she's a
an
fire
Aries. So I was
sign.
like, Leo.
My grandmother,
Aries.
who my mother comes from, and my mother's so much like her. My grandmother, ill-tempered woman. Um, she let me tell you what my grandmother did. In Guyana, the teachers in school were allowed to beat you.
Mm-hmm.
So I was straight A student, like top of the class all the way through, until this one
Mm-hmm.
guy, Wayne, showed up, and then he started competing with me.
That's another
Wayne.
name. Another name.
Aaron and Wayne.
Don't trust Wayne's.
Yo. So Wayne came, and then all of a sudden my grades were kind of going down a little bit because he was competing with me. He was like super smart. But anyway, Wayne, I hope you're well. God bless you. But so I always did very well in school, but I had a problem with biting my nails. So Monday morning, every Monday morning, my teacher would say, "Everybody, put your fingers on the desk." We put our fingers on the desk, and she would walk around to make sure it's nice and clean and groomed. And of course, mine were all the way down and probably had a little bit of dirt in it, because I used to play in the dirt, right? Yeah.
Stop. What is the meeting number or password for this link?
Did you send her the link? Because it will be included. Did you send her the link or the password?
I sent her the link that I have in my email for this.
It should be all in the thing,
Yeah, it should be in there. It should be a link
all in the email.
with a password.
All right, I got it. All right, start from the Wayne thing. All right, go.
So the teacher would walk around um, every Monday and ask everyone to put their hands on the desk,
Mm.
and she would inspect our fingernails, to make sure they're nice and clean and groomed. Now, I ate my fingernails. I'm a nail biter, right? Like bad nail biter. So she came to me, and I guess my nails probably looked dirty to her. She wasn't happy with that. And she took a twig, which we called a whip, from a tree.
Uh-huh.
They used to send you outside to pick your own whip.
Yeah. We call
So,
it a switch. I don't
right.
know where that came from, but
She came back and she hit me on my fingers with it.
uh
And this happened
for having
first
short
thing
nails.
for not keeping them groomed, nice and groomed.
Uh.
So this was Monday morning early. And after when school was let out, I don't know if that was 2:30 or whatever, I was still tight. Like the whole day, I held on to that tightness. And
Oh,
listen,
they.
when I went home, my grandmother said, "What happened to you?" I said, "I don't remember the name of the teacher." I was like, "Such and such teacher beat me." Yo, the next day, my grandmother was at that school. You know what she did? She snatched that teacher up and slammed that teacher up against the wall and threatened him or her.
Oh,
And she was a Leo.
fire, baby.
She was a Leo, and she pretty much did that. And that's the type of woman, that's the bloodline that I came from. You know, my grandmother was like that, ill tempered. Then it got passed down to my mom. And of course, I picked up some of that. But, I think I've definitely got some privileges to be able to be in spaces where um, I could learn more about myself and evolve better and refine myself and
Hmm.
learn how to resolve those things, because going to therapy and seeing a therapist and all those things really didn't exist for my grandmother. And my
Mm-mm.
mom also didn't tap into that. So thankfully, I was able to get involved in things to offset that
Mm-hmm.
line of toxic behavior.
Yes.
Um, but long story long, that's where that aggressive attitude came from. And
Generation.
today, I work very hard. I work very hard to make sure that when I'm in spaces with other women, that stuff is not, seeping out, because it's very
Mm-hmm.
easy to just relapse and fall back into that.
Yep.
And I work very hard at it. It takes work because that's not where I came from. That wasn't always the
Yeah.
thing. So of course Shan is here
Hi.
with us.
Hello.
We were talking about you a little bit, so let me tell you guys really quickly. Shan has been a hidden gem and modern day Wonder Woman to those who know her. From over a decade in the beauty industry, wearing hats of makeup artist, stylist, wig slayer, and now an exceptional cook. There really hasn't been anything she hasn't been excellent at. Now, as a busy mom who rocks in the kitchen, she's claiming her spotlight as she prepares to let you into her life with cornbread convos with Shan Can Cook. I love that, where she talks
Ooh.
about how food got her through IVF, loss of a child, a close encounter with death, and finding peace and love of self. Yo, that's a whole movie. Uh,
That is a movie.
Sometimes it is. It's still going.
Yeah,
It's,
It's a beautiful thing.
it is still going.
it never
Cornbread
stops, right?
combos. That's a
No, it's more
great
like a
name.
series. A
That's
series.
awesome.
I'm just waiting for the check.
Well,
Aren't
welcome,
we
welcome,
all?
welcome.
Thank you guys.
It's super dope to have you here. Melee was asking me earlier, why did you choose Shan to bring her on? And I told him, I met you at the Battle of the Sexes event.
Yeah.
I thought that your perspectives were super dope, and I think that we could have a really great conversation. And after that event, we just clicked, became friends. I've seen you at other events,
Yeah.
and we've been mostly social on social media, but the vibe and the love has always been pretty apparent. And I wanted to bring you on also to spotlight the things that you're involved in, and girl, just have some girl talk. You know what I mean?
I appreciate it. I'm so appreciative because it's very rare that you find people or come in contact with other women where it doesn't feel like it's a competition. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where your viewpoints, where you sit there and you're able to congratulate somebody that looks like
Mm-hmm.
you don't nitpick at what they may be doing differently from you, or maybe what accolades they have that you don't, and you don't start to tear apart yourself. But you see somebody who may be in the same path as you, or maybe in a completely different path, but it's just good to see a reflection that is similar to yours, to where you can reassure yourself that, okay, what I'm doing, somebody sees me, or just to let another girl know, I see you.
Yeah.
As I'm getting older, I'm starting to realize that just being able to be seen, not necessarily understood or agreed with, because we look for acceptance, just being seen is enough. You know what I mean? That can spark enough, where we feel at times inadequate or invisible. So I'm grateful that you
Exactly. And
saw me enough.
yeah, absolutely. You see how I be in your DM, girl. Stop.
But it's so crazy because I don't know why that's so foreign for some people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you see something, I thought that, Instagram and social media, when you see things that you like, you say, I like it.
Yeah.
Now you have to hide what you like or be afraid of what you like because you don't want others to criticize what you may like.
Yeah. Well, that's totally not me. I'm a groupie for other people's brands. I'm definitely in her DM telling her like your food look good, you look mad fly, and stuff like that, because it's the truth. And I don't want to be afraid of people thinking, oh, she's sweating me. If there's a person who feels like an overwhelming or a lot of love means something negative, that's them, honey. Like,
Yeah.
if you think a lot of love is a negative thing, then you really have to check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Before you wreck yourself.
It's more so mindset. It's almost like we're trained that when we get a compliment, we can't believe in the compliment. There has to be something hidden. There has to be an agenda hidden, because we're taught that we're always in competition with each other. It's like, why must we compete? Yeah, it is, survival of the fittest. Everybody wants to be first. Everybody wants to win or be the winner. But it's like, why must we we have the whole world up against us.
Yeah.
Just being a woman. Why must we go against us too? Then that's the whole entire world against us.
Yeah,
We
and
have to create some type of support system.
yeah, I think what that ends up doing is we end up kind of isolating ourselves, and forcing ourselves into these little boxes where we're absolutely alone, and that becomes very lonely. I can tell you for sure, you have a lot of these influencers and a lot of these high notoriety women who are very lonely because they are catty. You can't really build a tribe or garner a lot of love and be catty and nasty at the same time. And if people are around you, it's probably because there's some type of benefit to being connected to you. So really this conversation is just girl talk, celebrating basic real conversations between women without um, you know, taking it on the negative side, and really showing the world that yes, it's very crazy what's happening, what Shan mentioned that happens between women, but also killing the myth that it's all of us. It's not, we do have dope women out here who actually rock with each other. So
It's tough, it's almost like I sit and I say sometimes, if we know what we're capable of when we destroy each other, right? We know what the destruction looks like. We know how to tear down an empire. And imagine actually uplifting another person and having that person uplift another person. Then we would really see what we're capable of. It's almost like we shortchange ourselves, because it's like, okay, if I tell her she's beautiful, what if she gives me attitude? then here comes the argument. So I'm going to think she's beautiful. I'm not going to tell her she's beautiful. And then there's the other side that maybe she doesn't even know she's beautiful or feels beautiful. And by me telling her she's beautiful, now I awaken something in her. So it's almost like we hold back because, okay, if I give you a compliment, one or two things can happen, but we never really go ahead, dive in to the, what if she's receptive? Just what if she's receptive?
I didn't think of that
I'm
part.
guilty of it sometimes because, you know how I am. I have control over me. I don't have control over other people. And you find sometimes we can be in the same field. I found it amazing that here you are, a vegan cook, right? And I cook, that we were never in competition with each other. It was always like, oh, that's dope. I see you.
Yeah.
Oh, Shane, that looks good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, we can all be doing the same exact thing, but it's the person, it's the character, it's what you bring to what you're actually doing, where people connect and say, okay, I'm going to invest my time. I think time is more important than the monetary. I'm investing my time. You've grasped my attention. Now I'm going to pull my other sisters to pay attention to you too, because you need to be recognized. It's so hard to do that, like with amongst women. It's like, why do we look for other people? Not always men, but why do we look for acceptance or validation from other men when somebody who might do the same exact thing as you recognizes you? Like, I'm always floored when someone who cooks or does anything that I'm into says, oh, I think this is dope. I like what you're doing. Because I know you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it takes a little bit more for you to say, let me put my ego right here real quick and tell somebody I like something. You know?
I love it. I love it. And I want to celebrate that. So can you name a time when a woman wronged you?
Yeah.
I'm sure you can name 10, but
no, you'll be surprised.
Yeah.
I feel like when we say wronged, that means it had to have some type of expectation, some type of emotion tied. There had to be some malice behind your decision. And I was complex about like what would I say? Like, I had 3 things in my head, and the most relevant one I feel like for the times right now was I had a doctor who wronged me. So, at the age of 24, I wasn't thinking about really marriage. I wasn't thinking about kids. I wasn't thinking about any of that thing. I was in a relationship, a very much so committed one, and it was a beautiful thing. And I was walking into the point where I said, you know what? I want advice from people who look like me, who when I walk into a doctor's office, I feel like she or he may understand my struggles just a little bit more, just based on history, based on things that they may have come across. Just because previously physicians, I didn't feel like there was a connect, right? So I had a great doctor, we'll let her remain nameless. I thought to what was exposed to me, she was wonderful. I felt like I was walking into an office with an auntie, or because I had real girl conversation. This is what you should be doing. This is what you shouldn't be doing. The world tells us we need to do this. It's okay to follow your dreams. Yeah, these biological clocks. These are the things I needed to hear. And I turned up 24, 25, pregnant. Didn't know, because it wasn't a thing I was shooting for. And the years of being drilled of, birth control, do this and this order and things like that. So it was a surprise to me. I took a test, it came out positive. Took another test, it came out negative. Took another test, it came out positive. So I said, okay, I know I can go to her, make an appointment, get a trusted answer. So I'm telling her what's going on. Like, I drink coffee. These are my favorite foods. I can't take the smell of coffee. I can't eat food. I can't keep it down. Like, something's wrong. And I'm like, my periods are irregular, things like just woman things. And she was just like, you're overthinking it. You're overthinking it. So I figure, I'm overthinking it. I'm stressed out. I'm worrying about things I shouldn't be worrying about. And she's telling me, focus, career driven. Remember, you work a lot, things like that. And I just kept coming back. every week till it was coming like every 10 days. I'm sitting in your office, something is wrong. I'm spotting. This is day 40. Something is wrong. And she's like, no, nothing's wrong. You're a hypochondriac. I said, and then I finally demanded. I demanded because I said, you know what? We've gotten to this place where you think you are my auntie. Professionalism is out the door. You think you are my auntie. You're not my auntie. I need you to do what you need to do as a doctor. Took a test and came out positive. Whoa, wow. So for a month and a half, I'm, coming to you, and I've been getting the auntie, the conversations. You're young, don't focus on these things. And here it is, we had an issue. So she told me, don't worry about it. Your hormones are all over the place. It says positive, but we're going to do this test again a week from now. It might be negative. I went home and intuition said something's not right. Take yourself to the emergency room. Something's not right. I walked myself into the emergency room, got a pregnancy test, got an ultrasound. You're pregnant, but you're internally bleeding. Your tubes erupted. You would have died in your sleep today. And it was like, what? I was just like, huh? This is 25. I'm like, huh? First time being pregnant. Help me understand. Like, what do you mean? And the end result was just, okay, now your tubes are removed. Miss Wyatt, unfortunately, you will never have children. You no longer have equipment. We had to remove this, that, and the third. And it was just like, hold on. Huh? And I later found out she lost her obstetrician license. So you're not even licensed to deal with pregnant women. So there's a reason why you push that narrative. But you ran my insurance up. You made a lot of money because I'm a hypochondriac. And never got the apology. And I said, part of me couldn't understand why the brown girl who looked like me put me in the situation where, bad enough, I've been to people who didn't look like me, and they pushed the narrative that procreation shouldn't be the top thing on my list. And then I had a brown girl who also got drilled the same thing too. Procreation should not be on your list. Reproduction should not be on your list. You are supposed to be strong. You are supposed to be successful. You are family and building bonds and relationships are not your priority. We've done enough of that, of raising children and having children. It's time to just excel and be an independent woman that everybody. And, I found myself saying, how could you do this to someone else? And then I realized you are a hurt girl, who that's the narrative that was thrown on you. So it's almost etch-a-sketched into you. Now it's part of your DNA. This is what you push to other brown girls.
Wow.
To push profession. And so many things came with that. A lot of people ask me, well, why didn't you sue? Why? Because that wouldn't heal her. Regardless of what. At that point, it wouldn't heal her and it wouldn't heal me. Monetarily, you can't give me back what was taken away from me.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And I looked and I said, I was confused because I'm like, okay, now I'm my last brown girl. There won't be any reproduction after that. And I said, this can either cripple me or it can push me. And I figured out everything I had to figure out to try to not let that cripple me. Even to this day, I never got an apology from it. Or even I was wrong. Because accountability is a big thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when you dig deeper and you say, oh, she's a doctor, she's a gynecologist, she has no children. Then those things, you know what I mean? It's like, wow, okay, you have no children. What happened?
So did you forgive her?
I had to, because it wasn't her fault. It is a narrative that is pushed on us just by American culture. Just by, Black women are just looked at as just mothers. And it's unfortunate, you know what I mean? And even, I sat there and I'm obsessed with being a mother. Like, even to this day, I'm like, okay, I'm a mother. Now I can do everything I want to do. Not realizing that it consumed me. Because you're told you're not a woman unless you have children. If you choose not to have children is one thing. When you can't have them, that's like a whole nother ballpark. You know what I mean? It added a little bit to my story, but I felt like it almost was a setback a little bit.
In what
Because
way? Why do you think it was a setback?
I valued myself based on being able to reproduce.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, you look to say, I'm not woman enough if I don't have a child.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not woman enough if I can't have a child. Then, you know, relationships became awkward. You know, it creates tension because you tell people, okay, there's a chance that we can't have children. Well, we definitely can't have them naturally. And it becomes this, the stigma is attached to you, like, what's wrong with you? What happened?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you find yourself that when you have to explain it, you're back in this black hole. You're back in this state of depression where you feel like you're inadequate. When you're more than enough.
So
But
how long
now,
ago was this?
oh, this was right before Wyatt. So this was 2012. 2012.
So you then had a gorgeous son after.
Oh, I had a son before him too. So yeah, so I did the whole IVF. Financially was like, you know what? Everything I have, everything I got, they told me I can't. And I don't believe in the word can't. Can't is not in my vocabulary. That's why I'm able to do so many things, because when someone tells me I can't do it, I'm so driven that even if I just do it one time and succeeded at one time, I need to know, at least know I tried to do it, right? So I went through the whole process from the needles and the medicines, and it was a whole year of a process. And I found myself back in the same, you know, mindset of feeling inadequate based on medical care. Because again, I was looked at as the young Black girl who, you know, she's coming in here pregnant, she's unmarried, not knowing the story, not knowing, you know, me and my son's father have known each other since 3 years old. We lived across the street from each other. Like that whole, it was just circumstances.
Right. That stereotype is real.
Right. And no, it is real. And then, you know, you look on the paper and you see the girl named Chantiqua. They call me Chantiqua. My name is Chantiqua. They look and say, Chantiqua. Oh, I'm going to assume the person that's coming into the room. I'm going to assume she's this, and this. When I'm the complete opposite. So, you know, I had a doctor. I was going to Lenox Hill, Upper East Side. That's where my doctor was. That's where I was going to make visits. But I lived in Brooklyn. So I lived in Crown Heights at the time. I walked into Kings County. Here I am, 6 months pregnant, high-risk pregnancy because of what previously happened. And of course, doing IVF. I just went in there on a hunch, like, I don't feel too good. Like, something feels awkward. Walked into the hospital. They let me sit there 7 hours, untouched. The whole time I'm in full-blown labor.
Wow.
Full-blown labor. And my labor is just progressing. I'm going through pain. Now, here it is. I don't know what contractions are. I don't know really, I read what it was like, but because I'm so tough, I'm just like, oh, that, you know, and these are a couple weeks after the feeling first kicks. So I'm just like, oh, maybe he's just upset. Maybe it could be something I ate. And then I'm in full-blown labor. Full-blown labor.
Well, Shan, let me throw something right in the middle of the story. I want you to continue exactly where you left off. I'm just going to drop this and then add a little bit of context to what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
I think more and more people are becoming aware of this, but I believe it's like the number is either 5 or 6, but Black women are about 5 or 6 times more likely to die
Yes.
because of pregnancy than other types of women. So I just wanted to throw that out there and then let you continue, because I think it's important that people start to realize that these doctors, they do judge you, and they do decide to be a jury as well.
Yes.
On your life and on your health. So go ahead.
Yes. So, you know, I had moments to call my family to meet me at the emergency room, you know, because everybody in their mindset, they're like, you know, she's very, I was a hypochondriac. After what I went through previously, I was scared of every move. I was scared of every burp. I was scared of everything. So I always found myself in the doctor's office on a weekly basis. So here I am sitting in the emergency room, And they're just like, oh, just to let you know, Miss Wyatt, you're going to have to deliver. And because New York State requires us not to save children unless they're 6 months in a day, and you're a few days shy of that, you will have to give birth, and we will decide what you want to do with your child, your unborn child, afterwards. So I was kind of confused because I said, hold on. So I'm a few days shy of it. You're not going to attempt to save him. So at that moment, here's my mindset. I have to go through full-blown labor. I'm going to have to push my son out. He's going to have to pass away. I'm going to have to watch it. And then we'll figure out what we're going to do with his body. So that was my brain. And I wasn't allowed to cry. I wasn't allowed, because at that point, it was just like shock. You're in shock. So I had my aunts who are evangelists, my parents, everybody just confused at what was happening. And, you know, the emergency room staff called my doctor, and my doctor's just like, you're young. You're young. We can do this again. And it's like, it's not
You're young and you're also a brick wall. You have no feelings.
right. Like, this can kill me emotionally, but okay. So, you know, I gave birth, and it was like a quiet moment because he wouldn't come out with the room full of people. And I was just like, I want to be alone. I want to be alone. I have to be alone. And I said, you know, my prayers, my apologies, and it was just like he released himself. And then I had the doctor walk in, and we just had to watch him struggle to breathe and squirm and move. And he finally got to a standstill, like a still of movement. And the doctor picked him up and walked out the room. And then returned a few minutes later. And at that point, he was wrapped up, he was cleaned, and I was confused as to why he wasn't weighed and cleaned next to me, opposed to another room. But at that point, I was still in shock. So, you know, you're not really thinking those things, but you know they're going on, but you're not thinking them. And I just remember he didn't open his eyes, and I looked, I still counted toes, I still counted fingers. I had my best friend in the room, I had my mother in the room, his dad was in the room, you know, we took pictures, and something told me to keep the heartbeat, the tracking of the heartbeat, because, you know, I didn't know how this was gonna go. I didn't know what was gonna be said or whatever the case may be, and I got to sit with him for a couple hours, and then he started to go cold. So, you know, they asked me, well, what do you want to do, Miss Wyatt? And my words were, well, what are my options? You know, I want to have a funeral because I feel like he was a person at this point. He had a name, he had a sex, you know, he has a room, we have stuff ready. And I got offered him in a shoebox. And that was disturbing to me. It was, we can give him to you in a box. And we can call this a miscarriage, and there can be, you know, we don't physically have to go through the paperwork. If you would like to make it easier. My other option was, we can bury him, I think they call it on Hart Island, but you will never be able to visit him. You just have to trust that he got buried. Or you can have funeral arrangements. And if you want to cremate, have a funeral, that will be all at your expense. So of course, choice 3 was mine, because I'm like, no, my whole family, I'm the oldest grandchild. This is the first great-grandchild. You know, I'm lucky enough to have my great-grandmothers. I'm lucky enough to have, you know, all these women still around living and breathing. So I was like, of course not. We're going to do it properly. Like, we were preparing and prepping. We will not throw my child in a shoebox. Needless to say, they lost his body for 9 days.
Oh
So
my
for
God.
9 days.
Okay. Shan.
Right. So, you know, you sit here, and now when I see things that are going on, because, you know, I was told to be quiet. I later learned when I filed complaints, they gave me just a death certificate. They wouldn't issue me a birth certificate. And when I got the death certificate, at the top of it, whenever you get a death certificate for like a spontaneous miscarriage or anything like that, there's 2 questions. Was there a heartbeat, And was there any movement? And the doctor checked no to both. So me, after getting this, after fighting, because the doctor went on vacation, the person who does the death certificates went on vacation. I couldn't get a death certificate, so here we are. We paid for everything at the funeral home, and there's no body. For 9 days, we're searching for a body. Pathology misplaced my son's body. So for 9 days, I'm sitting here like, where's my child? No apologies. It's just a call back tomorrow. We're going to see what we can do. Call back tomorrow. We're going to see what we can do. Until I gave birth December 10th, December 19th. The funeral home finally called me, like the hospital called. They found your son's body. Would you like to identify him to make sure? How do you ask somebody that? 9 days later, would you like to see your child to make sure that it's actually your child because we misplaced him? Mentally, I just had to trust the universe. You know what I mean? But once I got the death certificate, it didn't sit right with me. And I remember when I got moved from the maternity ward to the regular, and the person, you know how registration comes in and they ask you for your insurance?
Yeah.
They were like, so you have Medicaid, right? And I'm like, no, I have a PPR at work. Like, huh? The assumption was I was the Black girl named Chantiqua who came in pregnant, unmarried, and probably had Medicaid. Even if I was, what would that have changed?
Well, at that point, you're not human anymore.
Right. So I had a great nurse who listened and was brought to tears when she understood, like, you went through all of this to get here. You paid thousands of dollars for your insurance. At that point, I was spending $2,000 a month just on one medication to get to where I was. Okay, working 20 hours out of every day for a whole year, pricking myself, blood work daily for a whole year to get to that point. But, you know, they don't ask the questions leading. They just see you and they assume. So I got the treatment for assumption. And when I left the hospital that day, I told myself, moving forward, I have to educate myself through every door that I go through and let people know that if they think I don't know, I do know. You know, my fertility clinic was stunned because they were trying to understand, you know, if I was a different religion, if I was a different color, the things they would have done. Even if I would have walked into the hospital that was located across the street, the treatment I would have got would have been completely different. And everybody was so much so apologetic. And, you know, when I did try to, you know, bring it forward and say, you know, let some type of legality come into the situation because I felt like I was done wrong. And even after giving birth and stuff, I was forced to clean my own bed, put myself in the bathroom. Nobody helped me. I have to beg for food. Like, it was just like the treatment was crazy.
Wait, what hospital was that?
Kings County. And the crazy part is I was born there. So I figured I walk into here, you have my whole medical history. I used to go to a clinic here growing up. You know what I mean? I was just like, if anybody would know body, my whole medical records are here.
Are you aware? Are you aware that people call that hospital Killer County?
Oh, okay. But what I did learn is that was very stunning to me. All city hospitals, the hospital, when it's a city hospital, when you have issues, when you have complaints, when anything legally, the hospital itself deals with it. The resolution comes from the hospital. So when I was getting mistreated by the nurses and, you know, I made complaints, the hospital itself, their offices and their, you know, their advocates, they determine where it goes. So of course, naturally,
Yeah,
they don't push it forward. You know what I mean?
they're all on the same team.
Yeah. that made me say, you know what, moving forward, when I walk into a hospital of any kind, I have to know that the doctors, the place, the establishment, they are very afraid of malpractice. They understand what malpractice is. They understand what mistreatment is. All of these things came into play. And I played the ball game completely different after that. And that's how I ended up with Wyatt. I sat there, I studied, I educated myself. I was very much so in tune, and I found myself with a different doctor. And, later on, I found out my doctor, also a woman, because, I said, I want to go through birthing, the whole pregnancy thing with a woman, because a woman would understand a woman's body better than anyone. And I found myself with another hurt woman, 8 pregnancies, no children.
Girl.
So she was still, a Jewish woman, but she was a Jewish woman who was told she was inadequate because she couldn't carry children, 8 pregnancies. So I understood now why I got we can do this again. We can try again. You're young. There was no, this was supposed to be it. I didn't get that, until I changed and I surrounded myself with people who valued life, the importance of it. And it can be this one time or never again. And they didn't want that on their shoulders. They didn't want it on their heart. They didn't want it on their dime. You know what I mean?
Well, let me tell you now, I did not expect for you to grab my heart like that.
No, don't do that.
I'm telling you, that story, I'm a mother and I have a son, and I cannot even imagine walking that.
It's tough.
Yeah, you hear about these stories all the time, and it's a lot of times you don't get to see the faces. You hear the statistics and you hear the numbers, and a lot of women, unfortunately, do not survive these situations. But you don't get to see the faces and listen to the stories and know the names enough. So one, I thank you for sharing this, and also I just have a question, like I guess for both of you, just in general, from a man to a woman. You hear a lot. Um, you see the memes and the quotes all the times, and it says "Protect our Black queens, kings protect our queens." What does that look like to you, gals? What does that look like to you, ladies? What I guess, even if you want to be specific, what can men do, or what should men be doing in order to make you feel protected in this society?
Well, first of all, I did not
Nola?
want to be in a situation where I'm crying.
We're not gonna cry because we cute.
So
we
good.
cute.
The first time on the Nola Bro experience, we got some tears, y'all. We got some tears, y'all.
Oh shoot.
We're here for you. We're here for you, Nola. Take your time.
Something flew in my eye. It's dust. I thought I was crying. It was dust. And I'm just making a joke because Shan said earlier, I wasn't allowed to cry, and I definitely feel like that's been a thing as well. I have people in my life that I've known my whole life, and if they see me crying, they will be like, "What? You cry? Yeah, the fuck? What do you think? I'm a brick wall." You know what I mean? And that's another thing. I think regardless of what we go through, we are expected to always be strong.
Mm-hmm. It's that slave mentality where, you get raped, you get stripped of your values, your husband, your kids, and you have to always remain unbothered. Mm-hmm. And the second you are bothered and say something, you're complaining.
Or you're an angry Black woman. So Mele, to answer your question, it's so interesting that you ask a question that just happens to be my core struggle in my entire life. And it's a very big part of what I discuss in therapy, that to this day I struggle with security. anyone has ever been in an intimate space with me where you get to hear, things I'm struggling with or things that I expect, and I absolutely, I don't want to use the word demand. It just sounds so like I'm being condescending to another person, but it's absolutely necessary for me to feel safe. And safety to me means presence. One, um, I never, ever in life before the current relationship that I'm in. I am 37 years old, and there was never a time in my life, not with a father, not with an uncle, not with anybody else, where I ever felt like, okay, this person actually has my back for real. Never. And it didn't even occur to me until I met him. And then I was like, okay, this was a very unusual relationship for me for a lot of reasons. But then it's also the only relationship where I felt safe, like, okay, this person actually has my back for real. And protection to me just means presence. One, be there. And when you are there, you're not, you're also taking care of yourself, right? Because I feel like a lot of men don't take care of their mental, they don't take care of their emotional parts. And when you do that, you pretty much cause yourself to be a certain type of person who is not healthy, and then you're not healthy in a relationship, whether it's a daughter father relationship or a spouse or even friendships, mother son, whatever. When you don't take care of yourself, you pretty much force the people around you to have to deal with your shit, and it's not fair if you have a choice. It's not fair if you can get help and be a better person for you and for your people. So for me, protection really means presence, and a man who is dedicated to always refining himself so that he's good for his people. I've never had that until 2016. And whoever's listening to this who's been there, it wasn't you, and it's not me firing shots. I'm not pointing fingers or anything like that, because I do understand that a lot of people, or a lot of men rather, they weren't taught certain things, they weren't handed certain tools. So how could they use those tools, and how could they do things that they didn't know how to do? And I forgive everybody because I understood why that never happened for me. But like I said before, if I didn't have pride, I would have been proposed to this dude.
Wow. Wow. Dang, that is powerful.
Yeah.
That's and sad. Dang. Okay, Miss Wyatt, you.
It's a harsh reality. And I double back to when me and Nola did we were on the panel for Battle of the Sexes. And I remember I was getting crucified by like all the women because, I seemed as if I was on the side of a male. And I tried my best to reassure women. We want to feel safe. We want to feel secure. We want to, all of these things in a relationship. And all the insecurities and the fears and the things that we find that we can't find, or we do find in bits and pieces and things. Imagine how men feel. Imagine being deemed just a provider, where you're looked down upon if you have ambitions. You look down upon if you are not, desiring a relationship to take care of a woman and take care of a child or produce a child. We look down upon Black men who are already battered by this world. And then we still have the highest expectations. And I ask, how do we expect them to take care of us and be our knights in shining armor if we can't even be a shoulder? You know what I mean? We can't be their safe place. It's a give and take. We're never really taught it's a give and take. We're taught you have children, you raise the children, he makes the money, he's the provider. That is it. We're not taught that we can have emotions, we can have feelings, we can have ambitions, we can have goals, we can have failures. You know, we can have uncomfortable conversations, or we don't have to look the way every other relationship looks. We don't have to desire a marriage on paper. You know what I mean? Maybe it's not his responsibility to make me feel safe. Maybe it's mine first, where I have to be secure enough with myself and he has to be secure enough with himself that we can exchange security. Because he has to feel safe too. He can't just want to protect something that won't be giving back anything. And then I double back and say, you know, I always told myself I will not be comfortable with a man until the man that helped create me, all our issues are resolved. Because I will be seeking something and a resolution to issues that were created with me and my dad. So, you know, if I am afraid of infidelity, I'm afraid of infidelity because I see it. Where did I see it? The first person a girl falls in love with is her father. Hence, the joke is on me because my father's name is Keith, my brother's name is Keith, my son's father's name is Keith, my godfather's name was Keith. I got comfortable with, okay, I hear that name. It's, you know what I mean? You don't even realize you subconsciously fall into these patterns. And I say, you know, I want to feel secure in a situation or a relationship. And even now, I don't really know what I'm in, right? But
I think you're enjoying it. Whatever it is you're in, girl, I think you're enjoying it.
So it's different, right? Where it's not a label. The levels of intimacy come from conversation, where someone has their own life. I've never dated or found anyone who was selfish, who was okay with being selfish. You know what I mean? Saying that I like you. Companionship would be nice. Marriage would be great. But guess what? Priority number one is not you, it's me. Because that's my mindset. I can't offer anything until I actually have something worth offering, and I'm still working on me.
Yeah.
So like now I actually feel secure enough just within conversation and the interaction I got, right? That's enough. And it's more than what I've gotten with situations or relationships where there was a physical, there was the I love yous, there was, you know, the things that looked like they were going to lead up to the house with the white picket fence and, you know, the sun in the door. I realized that it was okay to worry about our security and safety and feel comfortable. And it was also my job to make sure he felt the same exact way. Where a phone call every day is enough. An interaction is enough. I don't have to lay next to you every single day and roll over to you for you to feel safe and secure. That my presence is there even when my presence physically is absent.
That's a really beautiful thing. I love it. And I can tell you that I've definitely seen you post certain things on Instagram where I'm like, yeah.
That made me look.
No, where I'm like, I don't know if she's in an entanglement or what's going on, but
you know, that is just, you know, okay.
I think she's having a good time. It looks like you're having a good time.
That's good.
You know, and everybody asks, so, you know, sexually. And I'm just like, and they look at me strange, like, what you mean?
So when they ask you sexually, for the people who are not able to see you and they're just listening to the audio, you're shaking your head saying, no, it's not happening.
No. Yeah, like, and they're like, well, how? Why not? What's wrong?
All right, so let me delve into that area for a second, because I've had a moment in my life when I was celibate for a nice chunk of time.
I did 5 years.
5 years? Okay, well,
5 years.
I was 18 months. 5 years. Wow. Okay. Well, 18 months. And during that 18 months, there's nothing in me that even wanted to be in that realm. And when I started, when I made the decision, it was because I had just come out of a really toxic relationship. I was devastated. And when people would approach me, I was like, the only reason why I'm drawn to you is because I need somebody to comfort me
Right.
now. And I really don't want to do that. It didn't feel good. And I was super proud that I made that decision. I was like, no, I don't want to do anything because I wouldn't understand why I'm doing it. And then, girl, the day when I realized that I was ready to get back out there,
With me, I was just like, I have so much more to offer. I don't want something like that to be the only thing people see that's my value. You
yeah,
know what I mean? People tell you, don't buy the car unless you test drive it.
yeah,
And then I've realized that, when marriages, relationships, and stuff hit a hurdle where that has to be taken out, only the really strong survive.
yeah.
So
Like,
I said,
what's
why don't we
left?
do this? Like, how about things go backwards a little bit? I need
Mm-hmm.
to understand, I need to like you. And people never understand when I say I rather like somebody than love them.
Yeah,
You can love anything. I can love a stuffed animal. I can love pizza. I love macaroni and cheese, particularly, right?
yeah,
For me to like it means I have to dissect it. I have to constantly learn it and choose to like it as it evolves and it changes.
yeah,
So for me to continuously like a human being, as you grow, you know what I mean? I want to say, I like this, I don't like this, but I'm choosing to like it. You know what I
yeah,
mean? I
yeah.
love you because you're human, but I want to like you, meaning I want to learn you. And to
Yeah,
me, that's so much more important than just, girl, I'm in love. That's just
yeah.
that's a
It's
feeling.
fleeting. It's
Right?
definitely fleeting, and it doesn't last. And being in love doesn't uphold anything. And what I also think is, you can be in a relationship for a really long time, and then start to discover things about a person, and you're like, how did I not see this all this time? Because it
I
takes
was in
time.
love. I was in love.
It
Love
takes
life.
time.
Yeah.
It
And,
takes
you
time.
know, in this world we live in, I'm like, we forget how spiritually strong we are. The exchanges of energies that take place, we don't really value them because we're taught that everything is supposed to be over sexualized. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You're supposed to show the best of you and give the best of you, and then let that determine how a man values you and how you value a man. Let me see what you have to offer. And we forget that we're human and that we're actually all connected spiritually. And the universe will make certain connections even when you don't. They will send out all the smoke signals that it's meant to, and it will grasp your attention exactly when it's supposed to, if you're patient enough and receptive. That was my goal the whole 2020. I said, I want to be receptive to different, even if it's so different, it's scary.
Girl, listen. And you're speaking like a true grown woman, because I think when you do grow into yourself, you understand that whatever list you had, whatever superficial expectations you had, sometimes the gem of a person has nothing to do with what you expect of them.
Right.
And then you encounter somebody who's giving you something or giving you things that you need, and you're like, okay, I love that you're helping me heal myself, or I love that because you're here I can now learn this, or I love this. But then the list of things that you originally wanted, girl, it's out the window.
Totally out the window.
And that
Mm.
comes with maturity. It comes with maturity. And I also feel like another thing that comes with maturity is seeing yourself and understanding the role that you play when things are sour. Can
Yeah.
you tell me about a situation where, um, specifically, well, I wouldn't say a romantic relationship, any relationship with any male, where you felt like, okay, because of my mindset at that time, or it might be a week ago, and you got enlightened over the weekend, but a time when you felt like, okay, I was the toxic person in this situation, and I now have to take accountability for the way this happened,
Um,
or for the way
you
it
know,
ended.
would say like one of my first real relationships that lasted for quite some time. It was about 9 years. I went from teenage, adolescent to early 20s, adolescent, still kind of adolescent. But I didn't understand. I was too afraid to admit that there was hurt and that some pieces were broken. So I was called the runner for like a really long time. And even till now, finally at 33, and I'm still, called the runner a little bit, right? Where I say, if things are too good, I'm going to run away a little bit just to create a little bit of chaos.
I'm the opposite. And I'm learning. I have to beat this thing. The moment something is wrong, I'm like, I'm out.
Oh, I'm an Aries, right? Rams.
Yeah.
We love
my
chaos.
goodness. Another one.
Yeah.
We were just talking about
baby.
Aries.
Right. So we work great in chaos. Some of our best work comes out of the worst situations, right?
If that ain't my mama.
Right. So
Absolutely.
we live for it. When things are calm, we don't really care. You'll notice Aries typically, we're called the people who are unsatisfied, but we're really not unsatisfied. We don't like boredom. We're the kids of the zodiac. We like excitement.
Yes.
So
I thought that was Sagittarius, girl. Bye.
We're not. It's not that we're not satisfied. It's that we're limitless, right? So we're kind of the push for everybody. So we tend to gravitate to the people who set limits or who become comfortable, and that's kind of downfall. And a lot of times people don't really see us as relationship people because we're kind of the I don't need you.
That sounds like you, Mele. I'm sorry.
I'm telling you, we're not needy
It's
people,
in the stars,
right? Yeah, we're not needy people. We want people, and and it's not until now, and as you get older and you get comfortable in your space, you realize it's okay not to need anyone. I don't want anybody to need me. I want someone to want me, because then you're choosing me. Needing means there's some type of attachment for me to function. Yeah. Oh, I need him because he pays half the bills. Oh, no, I want you here, whether you pay half the bills or you don't. Yeah. I'm choosing you to be here, right?
Yeah.
To me, that's more of a validation. So, growing up, I was just so in love, right? So in love. And even till this day, a lot of people still say, I always compare everybody to him, and that may be true. And I only say that because it was a different, coming from a family that had so much brokenness. Quick backstory, not too long. My grandmother had her first child at 11 years old. 11. She was a baby, right? She didn't know how to be a mother. By the age of 16, she had 4 children, right? So her adolescence, any innocence associated with her was ripped apart, and she had to become a soldier, right? That anger, raising children, the anger of them feeling like they were shortchanged because your mother was labeled as being fast or whatever, not realizing that her innocence was taken from her. That gets poured generationally, and then these curses happen. And I subconsciously held those burdens on my shoulders. So when I dated somebody who came from, a family, and, there was, a married mother and father, they didn't have children, but they were a married unit, and it was a strong unit. It was something I desired, but I was very much so afraid of, because I felt like I wasn't inadequate. I was inadequate. So wherever there was the smallest amount of hurt, I felt like it was tit for tat. You do this, I have to do this worse. You do this, I have to do it worse. Like, I always felt like I had to make somebody feel something, because I was struggling with these generational curses and these things that were exposed to me, that I had to make you feel, even if it was a small amount of what I was feeling, I had to make you feel what I felt. And then I found myself ruining situations. And I look back now and I'm like, me and him are still really cool. And me and his family are like this, which is crazy.
You're for the people who can't see you.
Yeah.
You super
me and
tight
his family
with his
are like
family.
super tight.
Yeah.
because there's like a mutual respect where you seen somebody, it was a genuine love. Like when I said I loved your mother, I loved your mother. Like she knew me from 14 years old. You know what I mean?
I don't like her.
Things
I'm just kidding.
huh? Right. No, I like her. I love, like, she was also the first woman that told me it's okay. Like, he might not want you to do certain things, but you're a woman and you're supposed to be smart. So if college is for you, you go to college. I know you love him, but guess what? You go to school. Do everything that you want to do. Don't consider him. Do what you want to do. And if he's meant to be there, he will be there.
So you feel
You know
like
what I mean?
you feel like the pettiness and the need to get back
The
at him
hurt.
is
The
what
hurt.
you
The
feel like
hurt.
that's what damaged or
It
how
consumed
you
me.
contributed to the damage in the relationship?
It consumed me because we as women were taught we can't do what men do, and for me I learned that that's fine, and it's not that we can't do what they do because we're women. That is not it. You shouldn't do what you shouldn't inflict the same hurt that was inflicted on you because it stumps your healing process.
Yeah.
It makes you bitter. It makes you angry. It puts you in this race, but what are you racing towards? You're not going to be healed. It's,
Yeah.
oh, you push me, I have to push you back. Sometimes you have to let that person be wrong and just let them be wrong. And that's okay. And forgive them and move on.
That's like a never-ending cycle of just hurting back and forth, like this
Yeah.
boomerang of pain.
And a lot of people wouldn't understand like why I still hold this guy to such high stature, because for all that I put him through, he's never said anything negative towards me. He's never not been there. I've never, and I understood that you were a lesson, just as I was a lesson for you. And it's a growing process. I don't have to hate you. You know what I mean? I can't heal if I hate you. I healed so much. I evolved and, grown so much because I wouldn't harbor hate or hurt. And I accept that, you know what? You may have did this, but I definitely did that.
Yeah.
And that wasn't okay.
Yeah. At what point
we love being hurt women.
At what point did you start admitting, or did you always know, or were you
I'm
always
not a good liar. I'm not a good liar, right? I'm oh man, I'm not a good liar. It's like the worst thing. Like, don't ever rob a bank and tell me about it afterwards. Tell me when you're planning to rob the bank, because the shock of it all, my face will tell it all. So,
okay, well noted. When I rob the next bank,
when you rob the bank,
don't
just
tell
make sure
Shan.
I'm in the planning process.
Noted.
Because then I'm like 10 toes down. Don't tell me after. So, I learned, and I said, you know what? What happens when you tell the truth? You give them the decision to either stay on board or walk away.
That's my philosophy all day.
Right? Like, it's so much more refreshing for me to say, you know what? I'm going to live out my truth.
Yeah.
At least I have that. I'm going to live out my truth. If you decide to stay, I appreciate your presence still being here, but your absence would be necessary too, because I need that lesson also.
Yeah.
I think we're too obsessed with you don't want any attachments to love and you have to not set conditions. No, you have to set some type of conditions, because you treat people how to treat you, and you never grow and you never learn if you're surrounding yourself with nothing but enablers who don't call you out on your mess. Call me out on my mess. I don't have to like it. I don't have to agree with it, but I have to respect that you are willing to call me out on it and not hide it.
And it's an opportunity for you to really learn, because there's so many things I've learned about myself based on what other people said to me. And I think, people say all the time, it doesn't matter what people say. It doesn't matter what they think. It does matter. What matters is how you process it.
Yeah.
And I've learned so many things about myself based on, things maybe my bestie told me, or, another person, my boyfriend or whoever. And to kind of piggyback on that idea, I think another thing that happens for women is, We are labeled inadequate when we can't make a relationship last. This whole idea of she can't keep a man
Yeah.
is such uh it is like people shame each other with that when it's absolutely by nature. You're not supposed to, first of all, you're not supposed to keep people. That's one. And then
Yes.
naturally,
Finally, the law of detachment.
if you pay attention to how nature works, you're not meant to necessarily stay forever with every relationship that you go into. It's impossible. It literally doesn't make sense when all of these interactions or these encounters are presented to you by the universe as lessons for you to get to wherever you need to go. Ladies, stop this whole thing about, oh, she's dating somebody new now, she can't keep a man. Maybe she has a lesson to learn. Maybe she needed to show up in that man's life to teach him something. And who says that, okay, if I dated 3 more people than you, it makes me loose, or you can label me with whatever title you want to label me with, because you don't understand the nature of how humans are supposed to move. We're not supposed to be attached to people. And before we head out, you can just give us your view on how you feel about when that statement, when people make that. Do you agree? Do you disagree?
I, it's so much pressure for us to be fixers. We're not meant to fix everything. I think, that is
Girl,
what we previously spoke about. And one thing that always bothered me, and as I'm getting older, we ask women to describe ourselves, right? Ask any woman on the street, tell me about yourself. Typically, the first things they say that come out their mouths are attached to other people.
I'm a
I
wife,
am a mother.
I'm a mother. Mhm.
Right. So I always said, I don't want that. Like, let me tell you about me. Like, even like I can honestly say, 2020, I asked to be called Chantiqua. I took off everything that was Wyatt's mom. For 5 years, I was nothing but Wyatt's mom. And you drill in your head, Wyatt's mom, Wyatt's mom. That became my mindset. Every decision I made it as Wyatt's mom. Every sacrifice I made it as Wyatt's mom. Till I almost was like, well, what does Chantiqua want? Chantiqua is the person that, initiated this whole thing. How did I forget about her? And I sit there and I say, you know what? I'm Chantiqua. Hi. Let me tell you what I do. Oh, and yes, I do have a son. Even like, I don't aspire, I aspire to be married. I want to be married. I want to have some type of union. But will it define me? No. Because I don't want to sum myself up as, oh, I'm so-and-so's wife. No. I'm happy he has his accomplishments. You don't see men describe themselves as, oh, I'm so-and-so's husband.
Except
No.
Barack Obama. That's Michelle's husband.
That's true.
That is,
Except-
but it's
except
because we know behind every, great man, we gotta, no, honey. This type of stability, there's somebody. Where's your mama? Where's your grandmama? Where's your auntie? So, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We know that there's a tribe. It takes a tribe and a village to raise any human being. And I say, okay, the relationship didn't work. It didn't even have to be me or the person. It could just possibly just be too much for
Yeah.
what we're willing to give.
Or timing.
Right.
This wasn't the
Right.
time. Yeah.
I think timing is everything, right? Because the universe will give you exactly what is meant to be yours at the right exact time for you to create some type of shift, a shift that you'll recognize.
Yeah.
I'm just so sick of that stigma that we're in control of the ending.
Yeah.
How about the ending necessarily isn't an ending? It can be a beginning of something new.
And sometimes, listen, I've had this where you might be in a relationship with someone, and this is how the universe works, girl. The universe will throw you into a whole ocean just so you can see one ass fish.
Yeah.
And you will be in a relationship to learn one thing. Like, so why y'all ain't just send me an email? Why did you make me go through 3 years just to learn this one thing? You know what I mean?
He's like that.
Yeah. And then that one thing is really what helps you maybe make amazing contributions to a new person. You know, so these encounters are definitely not meant to be held on to and meant to last, to make other people feel like you can hold on to a relationship. And that's why so many of us sit down in relationships that are toxic and unhealthy for us. But this woman here, y'all see why he was asking me earlier, so why did you choose? Y'all see why? Because
I see why.
we just went on a roller coaster. Like, I cried,
Yeah. We
we
cried, we
laughed.
laughed.
We laughed.
Listen, we went all over. This was,
Connected. Yeah.
such an emotional experience, and I thank you so much for sharing
Thank you.
everything with that. Your personal life, you did not have to do that. Not only did you make this a dope episode, but you're also contributing to other women who feel like they I know there are probably women who look at you and feel like, damn, I want to be Shan. You know, do you know what Shan has gone through? Have you?
Right. And you
Have
know, the hardest thing to tell people is you see these smiles, but understand that these weren't just handed and it's not easy street, but you have to be committed to creating your pot of gold and your rainbows every day. I don't wake up necessarily positive every single day. Some days I wake up defeated and I have to pull myself out. And I'm okay with being transparent enough to say, I am not chasing perfection. That's
all right.
just
So
it. I'm
I
not,
was. I,
you know, every stretch mark, every pound, every pimple, um,
every
it
stretch mark.
happens. You,
I love it.
because you know, we start to see these dolls. We're being forced into being perfection, and it's so much perfection and imperfection. We're forgetting to know what real women look like. Where all the stories are sounding the same because we're taught to be ashamed of the things that we're really going through,
Absolutely. I'm
and
so
we're
happy.
not learning.
I'm
We're not
happy you
learning.
said that. My last question to you was, leave us with some parting words, but I feel like what you just said just pulls everything in, and it just sums everything up. And I think the message that we can walk away with, I wanted to have girl talk, but I feel like so many girls have been talking for a long time. So I ended up changing this into Black girl talk, because it's our turn to have conversations and radiate, or make sure those conversations radiate all over the world. So this is Black girl talk, not excluding anyone else, not
Yeah.
throwing shade at anyone else.
Just because we are pro Black does not mean we are
You're
anti
anti anything
anything.
else.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
And I actually encourage people from other groups and other cultures, other races, to tune in, because I feel like this is an opportunity where you can become educated, and education is really what helps you understand what's happening with other people, and then really shows you that we're all probably struggling with a lot of similar things, and helps you become more sympathetic to what other people are struggling with. So thanks so much for taking us on that wild ass ride. I
Appreciate it.
appreciate your story. Your story is phenomenal. um, I don't know if you care about this or not, but I think this story should be everywhere, and a lot of people should be hearing it, because it evokes things in you that you probably didn't even know was there. So we appreciate you. We love you, Shan. Thank you so much.
I love you guys. Thank you so much. I needed this. I definitely will say I needed this.
Awesome.
See, there's always an exchange. It's always it's never one-sided. Even when people don't recognize it. I've heard people say this all the time. I do things for people who can't even do anything for me. There's no such thing. There's always an exchange. And if
You
you're
have
doing
to find
something
one.
for somebody and they accept it, and it's genuine, then they just blessed you. So
Yes.
something did just happen for you. So not only did you come and bless us, but I appreciate that you feel blessed as well. And it's been another amazing Nola experience, Chantiqua
Experience.
experience, Millie's experience.
Hmm.
And I'm super excited that I was also your experience. So, guys, make sure you come back. These conversations get spicier, they get
Hmm.
funny, they get silly, they get deep, they get ratchet, they get crazy. And I appreciate you guys for taking the ride with me. So make sure you stay tuned in, subscribe to the YouTube, come to Instagram, Facebook, everywhere. We want to connect with everybody everywhere. Thank you so much. Love you guys.
Thank you.
Much love. Peace.